Saying in Parliament, where the ranking member on the Energy Committee, John Jinapor, is accusing government of causing financial loss to the state in the Ghana Power Generation Company Judgement Debt saga. He says the company, which was awarded $170 million judgment debt in the London court, initially agreed to take $20 million, but government declined the offer. He questions why government allowed the amount to balloon to $170 million. He says government is said to have missed deadlines to challenge the award, and the court rejected its latest plea to extend the deadline. Mr. Jinapor says government must be blamed for mismanaging the dispute.
It simply tells us that the government didn't plan well. The government didn't take this matter serious. First of all, I hold the view that it was wrong to have terminated the agreement the way and manner in which this government went about it. Clearly, we could save more than $150 million if this government had listened to good counsel. But the minister decided that he would cancel it unilaterally. And today, the state of Ghana has had to pay about $170 million. That's a whopping amount, and it's a colossal amount. Also, we had the opportunity to file an appeal in London. And based on the ruling, it's obvious that the government of Ghana delayed, slept on the job, and didn't do what it ought to have done. And so clearly, from all intents and purposes, it would appear that we would have to pay this amount. And we must learn some lessons from it. We can't just throw the taxpayers' monies away when we could have used this money for some very, very equally important assignments.
But government was changing hands to a certain extent from the previous Akufo administration to the new one. The excuses being given. A new Attorney General had to come in. There were COVID-19 developments that made it impossible for them to meet the deadlines to the filing of the appeal. Do you think those explanations are tenable?
Yeah, but the court clearly says that they are not tenable. The court insisted that Ghana is Ghana, and it's a sovereign nation. It's like a company. If a company is running, it must run in perpetuity. You cannot say that because you are changing management, it got you not to do that. Bear in mind that if you read the story, we earlier on applied for some extension, which was granted, but we failed to act within that extension. What made us to ask for that extension, and why did we fail as a nation to meet that extension?
You think government didn't handle this properly?
Clearly, government didn't handle it properly. The ruling clearly says that government didn't handle it properly. I hold the view that ab initio, right from the initial engagement leading to the termination, and at this point, it has not been the best. And I think that as a nation, we must learn from that and do what is right and proper. Also, there should be proper guidelines and proper ways of terminating contracts. No minister should just get up on his own accord, decide that he wants to terminate contracts. And that when you are terminating such contracts, you must come back to Parliament and brief Parliament. It's something that I think Parliament should take up seriously. That you come to Parliament, we grant you approval, we commit the state, you sign the contract, and when you want to terminate that contract, it's only proper that the people's representatives are at least informed prior to the termination of that contract. The thing was to have negotiated with the company. And the company was willing to negotiate and to accept a lower amount of around less than $20 million. So if you want to save money, you had an option to save over $150 million, and yet you decided that you would terminate. It is the termination that is leading to all these judgment debts. Okay. The original contract wouldn't have led to all these huge sums. And so if you do a cost-benefit analysis, clearly negotiating with them would have saved us so much money.
Where is this information coming from that it could have cost us $20 million if we had negotiated? I'm just curious.
It is in the arbitration document. Go and read the arbitration document.
Well, Attorney General Godfrey Dames, however, disagrees the government mismanaged the dispute.
On account of all of this, I put my documents together. I'm going to write a formal complaint requesting an inquiry by the CID into the conduct of the public officers who acted in a manner which resulted in the execution of an agreement which resulted in financial loss to the state.
Sorry, we have to explain that. You are going to ask the CID to probe the decision to enter into the agreement with this company or the decision to terminate?
The decision, first and foremost, I'm saying that the committee set up by the NDC in September 2016 against the background of a recognition that there were so many PPAs that had been entered into by the NDC administration, and therefore there's going to result in and therefore those agreements were going to result in excessive capacity development, as it was termed, came to a conclusion that these agreements had to be terminated. And I'm saying that in light of that, a question must be asked as to the wisdom of the NDC administration in 2015, 2016, on account of a supposed lack of power to enter into multiple PPA agreements, which were unnecessary and which resulted in unneeded and excessive capacity development. And I'm saying that that committee singled out this particular agreement for termination. And the then Attorney General, acting on the strength, well, the Attorney General is not a technical person in energy matters. The Attorney General relies on reports of various committees set up by public institutions who have been vested with the capacity to review certain transactions peculiar to the area in which they operate. So the former Attorney General, in reliance on this report of the PPA committee, also advised termination. That termination, of course, was subsequently held to be wrong by the Landing Court of International Arbitration. But the basic point is that the entry into this transaction was unnecessary. The entry into this transaction was what resulted in financial loss to the state. But the termination was effected by the then Minister for Energy on the strength of the advice given by the former Attorney General, Madame Gloria Kufu, in 2018. And Madame Gloria Kufu also acted on the basis of the report of a committee set up by the SY Minister for Power in September 2016. And that is what I call the PPA committee.
Fair to say then that your government agreed with the NDC position.
Precisely. The government stuck with the report of the PPA committee set up by the NDC itself in 2016, recommending a termination of the agreement, because that agreement, if it had been allowed to run, was going to result in excessive power. And I'm saying that excessive power was not only in relation to that agreement, but many other agreements cumulatively was going to result in a loss of about over $7 billion between 2018 and 2013. And then an amount of $586 million each year was also going to be lost. So I think the issue is not as simple as the NDC people would like to make it sound.